Impact of TRT on fertility for women. So this one, highly individualized, as you're going to hear me say probably several times during this video. There is a minimum threshold that you want testosterone to be at in order to produce along the cascade of hormones that, so testosterone is going to aromatize into estradiol. That's one of the pathways in which estradiol is created. This is largely going to be determined by total circulating testosterone, but it's also going to have there will be upstream effects of DHEA on the production of testosterone as well as estrone. So relating this back to the actual question, TRT. TRT in itself is not like a death sentence to fertility, but you need to be cognizant of where your levels were at prior to starting TRT. Not just your testosterone levels, but your estradiol levels. Obviously, progesterone. Progesterone is going to be the primary hormone that is going to allow you to carry out a pregnancy full term. When it comes to determining the impact on fertility, largely going to depend on your current state, whether or not you, without TRT, sans TRT, can see a child, see a pregnancy full term. And if that's something that's at all a concern, I would strongly recommend working with a fertility specialist prior to starting TRT. If that's something, and when I say concern, I mean like if you have a suspicion, an inkling that there might be problems down the road, or this might be a more challenging process for you, your partner, I would go ahead and start the process of at least investigating, okay, what is the root of the problem? But what I can say is that TRT in itself, my understanding is that if your test is too low, there could be the consideration around supportive therapy, not necessarily TRT, but some kind of therapy to support levels rising if it's too low, as well as if it's too high. If it's too high, there could be an anti-androgen, an antagonist that would be recommended maybe to lower testosterone levels, circulating androgens. So highly individualized. It is not like A to B, like you start TRT, you're going to be infertile. It's not that straightforward. It is something to consider if you are going to have anabolics in place in a cycle format. So our performance enhancing drugs are Anavar, Primo, Mastron. You're going to have something in place that will ultimately cause the suppression of these hormones. That in itself is going to lower testosterone levels, thereby lowering estradiol levels. If you have any concerns about fertility and you are also considering starting TRT, it's worth working with a specialist, but keep in mind, TRT for women is something that is still very taboo. There's a lot of providers who do not believe in it, even if levels are suppressed. This is even more so the case for individuals who are healthy, who are in good shape, who are younger, who are not quite at a perimenopausal suspected perimenopausal age range biologically. Does the Anavar have an effect on ovulation intra or post cycle? Yes, it does. Anavar will have suppressive effects on all of your hormones. So just relative to ovulation, it's not good for it. I'm 22. Would you recommend Anavar at a low dose? And I want kids in the future. Without any context, no, I wouldn't. Anavar is going to be helpful in facilitating anabolism. If you're 22, okay, I would look at serum levels for circulating androgens. I would look at your circulating test levels, your free test, your DHEA. I also look at estradiol and progesterone because we do know that estradiol plays a really significant role. Like it's actually needed for the conversion of GH to IGF-1. It's needed for a process involved in building. So in the case of like, Corey, do you recommend Anavar at a low dose? Without any context, I gotta say no. But at the same time, like, sure, there is an individual I can think of who, like, maybe it makes sense. Going back to what I answered previously is like, if you want kids in the future, I would shy away from using anabolics in a very spastic sense, unnecessarily, if you will. Being so young, if levels are adequate, you can probably go a little bit longer without actually, dipping your toe in and starting down the path of performance enhancing drugs. Also, prior to the anabolics, I would start with the non-androgenic PEDs first.